Now the topic I'm going to be refuting is about prisoners and organ transplant. And the major claim that the advocate stated was that eliminating the restrictions on prisoner organ donations would significantly close the demand gap for human organs. Now, he proves this with two subpoints, one being the US suffers from an organ shortage, and two being that prisoners have been denied access to donate organs. Now, as you stated in your speech, there are approximately 120,000 people waiting for organs to be donated to them. All in all, if we allow prisoners to donate organs, even if they're willing to, you really think it's going to help solve the problem? Even if so, the US is still going to be in just as much need for organs. The number of prisoners wanting organs is in comparison for the number of prisoners willing to donate organs in comparison to the number of people wanting organs, it's just such a minuscule number, and in my opinion, it won't make a difference. Now, two prisoners have been denied access to donate organs. I understand the statement, but I don't think it really means much. Prisoners have been denied access to donate organs. And I don't think it means much because a lot of people get denied access to donate organs. When HIV infection, active cancer, or systematic infection are just a few of the several diseases that can lead to someone being denied the chance of donating their organs. As well as that, the general age of consent to living organ donation is 18 years in most American states, with the exceptions of California, where it's 16 with a parental consent. Now, that just shows that a lot of people are denied access to donate organs, and it doesn't really mean much. Now, the advocate tried to support his claim by saying prisoners with other requests are granted, such as transgender, and he cited a case in which an inmate was granted a $100,000 sex change. But I feel like it's quite irrelevant because a prisoner who wishes to have a sex change may be granted to do so because they're doing it to themselves, but when someone else is added to the situation, it just opens another book. Now, moving on, I brought up some counterclaims that I'd like to talk about. Firstly, I believe one of the main issues that confounds the notion of allowing prisoners to donate organs is whether we should permit them to do something that may get them viewed as like heroes when they've done terrible things. And if we're going to punish people, part of the punishment is that they can't redeem themselves. Perhaps organ donation should be off limits because it makes someone who did something terrible, whom we're going to execute in some states, look like he's not such a bad person. Moving on, prisoners don't make great candidates for organ donation. These prisoners are generally older and are not the strongest candidates in terms of their health. They're in environments where they're likely to pick up infectious diseases. They may get to these environments having led a criminal lifestyle and already carry infectious diseases. And if you're looking for healthy donors, a prison isn't really the best place to find them. Tuberculosis, HIV, hepatitis B are examples of prison-related diseases. So just because we're suffering from organ loss doesn't mean we should take just any organ from anyone and put it in someone else's body. The point of an organ transplant is to better someone's body. And I know we have screenings and tests, but they're all expensive and they're not always perfect. Lastly, if the prisoner in question is on death row, then the execution would have to be done so in a way that will permit organ donation. For vital organs, the donor must be on life support, and you can't simply take the heart out of someone and put it somewhere else. Now for the conclusion, the major claim eliminating the restrictions on prisoner organ donations would significantly close the demand gap for human organs. I don't really agree with the claim because I don't think prisoners are the best candidates, and as well as that, it's not going to make such a big difference when there's more than 120,000 people waiting for organ donations. Thank you.
This is like the third refutation we've had to your speech. Yeah, I think your outline was just on the table when somebody came in and we didn't have an outline. I just took that one. Didn't we have at least three?
Yes, for sure too. Okay,
well, there you go. The proposition and the secondary claims are laid out clearly, so we know what you're responding to. Your first point needs to be signposted better when you get to it. You suggest that it's going to be a minuscule impact, but you need to explain that point. I think I could figure out why it's going to be that way, but you're the one who's supposed to be telling us. How many Americans need organs? You said 120,000. How many people are currently eligible to donate in the general population that are not in prison? I think you could probably find a pretty good number on that, and then you could compare that to the number of people who are in prison and say, look, if we're not getting donations from X number of people who aren't in prison, what makes you think we're going to get any more, and certainly not proportionally more, out of people who are in prison? I think that's the argument that you're trying to make, but it needs to be clarified a little bit, and it feels a little bit underdeveloped on that point. On the second point, the first thing that you're talking about says they're denied access. You make it sound like it's a value argument, that it's not fair that HIV, people with infections, that sort of thing. You're making it sound like he's saying it's a value argument. You're saying there's a reason that we have this particular position. Maybe. I'm not sure that that's the argument that he was really making. He's in essence saying that there are barriers there that prevent this from happening, and that's why we need to be paying attention to this issue. I did think that you had the comment about the sex change our operation was worth making. I'm still not quite clear on how that all fit together. I think the whole idea was to show that it was practical to have these kinds of surgeries even in these circumstances, but I'm not sure that the advocate's argument made that clear in the first place, and your answer on it is kind of directed towards something else. I like the counterclaims that you had. I think that they are the right kinds of arguments to be making here. They summarize some of the arguments that you're talking about. The only problem is that there's no evidence on them. They're all asserted. You talk about suddenly prisoners might be viewed as heroes. Oh, that's a hypothetical example. It's really kind of a value claim that you're presenting. Then you say they're not potentially good candidates. They're older. They're likely to have infections, tuberculosis, HIV, hepatitis B. I don't hear any evidence that says that any of that is more likely to be in prison than any place else. It might be true, but I should get some evidence to support that particular point. On the death row thing, there needs to be an explanation about how the current methods of execution would not leave organs suitable for donation. I mean, let's face it, if you're stopping people's hearts chemically using a drug, I'm not exactly sure that heart is something that people are going to be able to use. I don't know that it would have an impact on livers or lungs or kidneys or whatever other kinds of things people would be transplanting. So it's kind of an assertion on your part, and unless there's some evidence, I think it's problematic. I think those are good arguments if you had some evidence to support them. All right. Both